That's nice.
But
He's the one that used to
they're
work.
delivering
I'm
a,
thinking I should know him if I don't.
I think it's
You don't know
18-foot
when we
tree
Oh,
today,
gosh.
yeah.
Oh my
I was at the hospice
In a former life when I was
Christmas
president
tree
of the
auction
Catholic School
and
Board,
Fred had too much to drink.
constantly.
You were feeling very generous.
Oh.
You were generous, weren't you?
Recording is rolling.
No,
FYI.
too late. I needed.
And on that note,
Page of paper.
good morning. I'd like to call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, November 22nd. Please join us in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Zoller is going to lead us with the prayer.
Please bow our heads. Dear Lord, in this time of Thanksgiving, let us give special thanks to all the people in Seneca County that give so much of themselves throughout the year in donating and helping others in this community. We ask for your help in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kushner?
Here.
And we'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept a motion to approve the digital audio recording of the previous board session of November 15th and the index.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Approved. Thank you. And, all right, adjustments to the printed agenda. Do we have any necessary adjustments? I will add under old business a brief update from being at the Foster Economic Development Corporation meeting and also the District 16 meeting, which was the round 31 of issue 1 money evaluation and acceptance of that rating. And that was on Friday. Anybody else have anything to add?
We got a request from the sheriff.
Okay, under new or old?
New.
For what?
I'll tell you when we get there.
I don't think I like the way it sounds.
Hey,
Yeah, I guess that could be bad, huh?
yeah.
All right, nothing else, Nicole, to add? All right. Go ahead and begin with that old business. I'll give that update so I don't forget it. I represent the commissioners at the Foster Economic Development Board meetings, and I thought I probably ought to do more of highlighting a few of those things. Renee Smith is able to be with us from time to time, but in that absence, their meeting was last week. They meet monthly. Their spec building is complete. They're talking to prospects, and they do plan to list it with a realtor, I believe after the first of the year, if that's necessary. So that's on their project leads. There was a number of projects that they gave updates on, including anything from some, our economic development folks like very clever names on projects. So on Alpha and Cookie Dough Project and cleanup of the old Clark Station, that's legitimate name. And then also Tim Hortons coming their way. The city has approved the tax abatement on that. And an expansion of an existing company moving into city limits. So that's just some of the highlights of things going on, but lots of cool stuff and going on there economic development wise as well as Tiffin. So wanted to share that. The District 16 update, Mark Zimmerman and I and Aaron Motz attended the meeting on Friday, and it's the number of business things they handle, but one is the tabulation, the acceptance of this tabulation sheet for District 16, and it's round 31, I believe, issue 1 monies. Is that right, Stace? I think that's and anyway, the Seneca County projects, we have 4 that are receiving funding by where they rated, a 5th that is going to get funding. It's right on the line, but because of the type of project, that's one for the village of Green Springs. it's got access to some small communities money, so they believe that will be funded. And the other one was kind of thrown in when we presented our rating locally that went into competing with all of these. We put it in there because you never know if some of these below the line are gonna get funded or not. So it is not in line for funding, and it's not in the top 7, but it was kind of an additional one. So we did real well with that. One is City of Fostoria, Eversole Boulevard and Arbor Street improvements. The next one of ours is the group from all of the townships. Then they have to have some match money in that for their different road projects that they wanted to be involved in this. So that is funded. One from the engineer for County Road 59 pavement and resurfacing. And the last one was from Jackson Township, Township Road 101, reconditioning and paving. And again, the one right below the line, but will have other funding mechanism, is East Adams Street roadway improvement project in the village of Greensburg. So good stuff for Seneca County.
What was the total funding? Total funding that Seneca County will get?
I didn't add it up. And there's total cost, and there's a grant request, and then whether they do or don't have loan money. So I'd have to total that up, or just see what the dollar figure is, I don't know. So that is that.
I actually did have one thing,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. I
Nope.
think that, especially since Tracy's here, I'm gonna let her chime in on this. We did have last Tuesday evening, I believe, for lack of a better phrase, a drug symposium at Little Faith Ministries.
Yep.
And I think it's important to recognize from a county standpoint, and one of the folks that was a user and no longer is a user, was an addict, suggested that really the first step to recovery is admitting you got a problem. And I know that we have kind of said it out loud, but we've really never done it as a group, if you will. There were 7 or 8 groups, of which SC3 was one, that assist in helping those folks who have a problem with drug abuse. All of them were there as a resource so that people in the audience knew where they could turn if they had a problem. I know, Tracy, you want to kind of give an update on what you had to say there? Attorney General Mike DeWine was actually here, talked about it across the country, or talked about it across the state. The scary thing was that, one of the things he mentions is that 3 people a day are dying from overdoses in the state of Ohio. 10 people a day are dying from overdoses across the state of Ohio, and if it wasn't for Narcan, they would suggest it would be more like 30 or 40. And as we spoke, I believe the day before that, we had in Bellevue
There were 10 overdoses in 48 hours.
10 overdoses
6
in
in
48
24.
hours. Of those, how many made it?
2 of them died.
2 of them died.
And the rest
Why don't you
of
talk about what SC3 does, or helps, and talk about maybe a little bit about the rest of the folks that were there.
Hi. I actually brought some quick facts about our program. We have a heroin, we're part of the heroin epidemic, which is a statewide epidemic at this point, as Mike DeWine had pointed out. And we are losing 10 people a day, and these are our kids. And some of our kids are 35, if you know what I mean. So it's not just a young people's problem, it's spanning across the board. What we've been doing for the last several years is I've been working in addiction and recovery for more than 20 years on one level or another. And 2 years ago, we were able to get the building out there, the old youth center, and rehab it. And now we have a 14-bed facility. And we're self-funded at this point. We're not receiving any money from anywhere else except we're earning it. But we have a program that's a year-long. It's a residential program. They come and stay there. And I have some quick fact sheets about our program if you would like to see them. Our curriculum and things like that too. It's not an easy thing to win with heroin. It's a 90% recidivism rate. At relapse rate. The odds are against us, but if we get in the fight now, as early as we can, we have a better shot before they get to a certain point. After that, it's a battle for their life for a long time. And it takes at least 5 years. 5 years to get them past where they can be in actual recovery. And there aren't enough of us in that fight. There aren't enough of us trained, there aren't enough of us who understand the problem enough, because nobody was expecting this. Nobody was expecting this, nobody was prepared for it. I mean, we have been overrun. And so we're trying to do our part in the fight. We work with the other agencies. There were 8 agencies represented there, including Firelands and Rigel, Oriana House, some of the other faith-based groups out there as well. We're a faith-based group as well, which is another reason why we don't get a lot of funding, because we're not eligible in certain ways for state money and things like that too. But we're getting to a point where we're going to be able, hopefully, in the near future, to be able to do some of that. But for us, it's a labor of love. And our organization, all of our staff is volunteer, including me. None of us get paid. None of us. So any money that's coming in isn't going to overhead. It's not going to salaries. It's not going to those kinds of things. Eventually, I mean, we're at a point where we need to have some paid staff in there, but we are self-funded. I run around the country and I earn it. We get donations, some locally. We have a contract with municipal court to provide some services there for victim advocacy, but that's the extent of our funding. And we operate on less than, right around $80,000 a year. And we're housing up to 14 men and feeding them and doing the things. And most of them come in with nothing, no clothes on their back. Most of them are coming in, and we have to work with Mental Health Recovery Board to get them into detox, which is a huge problem because there's no funding for these things. You know, and one of the things about SC3 is that we are 14 years old, and we picked, God has given us the 3 dogs that won't hunt: poverty, addiction, and crime. And nobody wants to pay for them either. So, but we have to, we're grassroots trying to do the best that we can to serve God and people in our community, and that's what we're trying to do. And so, like I said, I have some fact sheets here if anybody wants them, with our number and name on them. And we are a referral source. We'll take anybody who calls us. We'll give help. We don't turn anybody away. And as a matter of fact, you know, excuse me for my attire today, but we are giving out food baskets at noon to over 100 families in the community. So we can't do that in heels. So, but if you'd like some sheets on that, there's those. So. Does that help?
That does help. I think one of the things that's scary that they talked about was the fact that, you know, it's not just heroin anymore, unfortunately,
No.
because there's not enough juice, if you will, to get the high that they wanted. So now they're doing things like fentanyl, and they're mixing fentanyl with carfentanil, which actually is like it can tranquilize an elephant, if you can imagine that. So that's the reason that many folks are not able to tolerate it and pass on. So, you know, this is a real problem, and it's in Seneca County, of course, it's statewide, but, you know, we need to try to get out ahead of this however we can. They talked about some education in the grade schools and those kind of things, but I mean, you first need to stop what's happening and then let the younger ones get educated on the ills of this terrible thing. So I think that recognizing it is certainly, recognizing it as a community and admitting that there is indeed a problem, and then putting whatever resources we can into it. As we've said more than once in this commission, that the safety and security of our citizens is above all the most important thing that we want to make certain we keep an eye on. And my heart goes out to these kids and older people that, you know, that need a place to get straight. And hopefully we're supplying the resources that are necessary to get that done. I know that the police chiefs are concerned about it, the sheriff is concerned about it, and when you get the attention of the Attorney General coming to Tiffin, Ohio to let us know that this is one of the hot spots across the state, we've got to really take this seriously. So, and we will.
Mike, if I could just reiterate what you said, I mean, what I knew about the chaplain's court would have made a very, very small book, but a few weeks ago I had an opportunity. I went out and Tracy toured me at the facility and so forth, and quite frankly, I want, on behalf of myself and my fellow commissioners and the people of Seneca County, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do for the residents of Seneca County, and you do it absolutely on a shoestring. Absolutely on a shoestring. When I heard this statement, I said, Tracy, how do you raise funds? She said, well, I don't have time to raise funds. I'm too busy. Wow, that just speaks volumes. And there's any way, you are a private organization, but you help so many residents of Seneca County and affect so many families. And there's anything that we can do, we certainly need to help in the citizens of Seneca County, if there's anything that they can do. I mean, that is the best kept secret, in my mind, in Seneca County, is the Chaplains Corps out there. And I think that it was a building that a few years ago, we debated this commission, whether even just to tear it down, the old Children's Center. And to see the shape that was in, it really should have been torn down, but to see the shape of what you guys have done, of rehabilitated that building, and it's just amazing. And what you do with the staff of strictly volunteers, it's amazing. And I suggest to anyone, if you have an opportunity to visit the Chaplains Corps and just meet, if you could take just a few moments. I know that you're busy, but money is the driver here that's gonna help you on your mission and so forth. And I'm here, and the commission, my fellow commissioners, I'm speaking for them, are here to help in any way that we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We had that, do we want to continue with that thought and then come back to the School of Op? I don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
If Richard's on a tight schedule, is that all right,
Yeah,
Richard?
that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, that was listed here under old business. And,
I guess we kind of combined the drug symposium and the Chaplains Corps into one, but
yeah,
yeah.
right.
That's fine.
All right, well, that was here on old business because I believe somebody brought up last week was it last week or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, to discuss concerns that the Chaplains Corps was having with the building and, in covering expenses. I've got some thoughts, but go ahead, because you guys are the ones that brought it.
No, go ahead, yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Oh, okay. It's just that in, that discussion was about would we be able to financially assist in any way. I as well went out, and I had been out there before, but went out and visited with Karen and Tracy to see, the areas that they spent the money on repairing to keep the building operational for them and so forth. And then in that discussion led to me that I really do need to go back and read the lease agreement that we had. And so to take nothing from the great services as calculated here that are provided and the great needs our community has with anybody for providing those services. But in looking through this lease agreement, at the time, aside from being mirrored by the nurturing and the outreach for assistance and help that is provided, just looking at what the purposes of the agreement were at the time, is that we had ordered that building to be demolished, utility disconnected. Tracy was in, I believe Sheriff Eckleberry was here as well at the time, if I remember right, and expressed the need and interest in taking that building on as a facility for the Chaplains Community Corps. And so we agreed to, under this lease at $1 a year, and to have that happen, because we did not want to have another building that the county was paying expenses for and maintaining. We had no useful purposes for the building, so we were going to get it out of our inventory. It's continued under this lease, this 5-year lease agreement, which it has time left on and can be renewed and so forth. And in reading that, I don't see that the expenses, are a responsibility. No one's saying they are. They're just asking for some assistance. And then, as I told Tracy when I was out there, I was going to check into the legalities of it. The prosecutor's office has sent over a case study that is hard to decipher. I would certainly think we have to ask him for more explanation, helping us get through this, because it talks about how we can or can't give to private entities tax dollars that aren't under the ORC, our statutory requirements. So like I said, I don't know if there's been enough time to really kind of decipher this without, he told me he'd send it over and he goes, you're probably gonna need to call me back and so forth, and I think I do, but that's the background information I've done since we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and concerned on that. Again, no discredit to any of the services or not recognizing the need. It's just the slippery slope of the many organizations that do great things for Seneca County that also don't have the same avenues of funding available to them.
Okay, well, this is what I would propose. And I read through some of those, I read through the lease, or I talked to the prosecutor as well. And there is some gray area, certainly. But what I would propose would be this, that we have some utilities owed from that building at this point. I would ask that we not that the county pay those utilities for the first 6 months of 2017, and I put that as part of the budget income. Giving Chaplain Corps a chance to catch up on utilities from 2016. If it is within the realm of possibility, and mainly because they have referrals from municipal court and from common police court that really aren't fully funded. They take care of some folks at the request of both the courts from the city and the county. What the county and the city give them is not sufficient to house and rehabilitate possibly folks that are referred. So there is a real gap in the referral and the expense for that referral. So if it's possible, I would propose that we waive the utility fees for the first 6 months, review it in July 17th, to see if they have an opportunity to maybe catch up from some utilities from 16. So
The cost to incarcerate those people is substantially more than any offsetting we would have of the utilities.
yes.
I mean, that's-
So I mean, it is really on a related way a burden that the city and the county are placing on SC3, if you will. That isn't I don't want to say an unfunded mandate, but it is a burden that costs them more than what they're being compensated to do. And based on that, I would make the suggestion. This is all with the covenant that it is permissible under statute to be able to do this. I don't know the final answer of that, but that would be my motion, I guess, at this point.
If it's a motion, I would second that motion, but again, it's contingent on the prosecutors and legally what we can or cannot do. Morally, I know the right thing to do. Legally, we have to, certainly abide by ORC.
And I realize that there are a number of other, what I call them, government-sponsored agencies, GSAs, if you will, that do a lot of great things. I get that. But at this point, because specifically this is such a concern for the county, and because it is a protection of the citizens of Seneca County, I really think that we need to take some action.
The motion that has been seconded on the floor, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we would not charge SC3, the Seneca Community Chaplains Corps, utility expenses for the first 6 months of 2017.
They're responsible for the 16 of what they're behind. They're responsible for those.
Right, but the motion is do nothing with, and they're responsible for those. So the motion is to waive it. Is that correct, Mike?
To waive the fees.
To
for
not
the first
charge
6 months,
them
and then to review it
first
again
6
in
months of
July.
17.
Yes, that's the motion. With the covenant that it has to be approved by the prosecutor, that it is acceptable under statute to be able to do that.
Okay.
And if not, we may have to massage the motion.
Discussion. I guess I'm just going to add that I haven't looked at budget numbers yet. I know Stacy's been working hard at them. I know I've got a lot of strong concerns on how we're gonna do various requests and needs and things we have to do, and with not knowing that, this is hard for me to support at this point in time, so you would know that. Any further comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
No. Motion passes. We'll follow up with Derek on the review of that based on the stature and what is permissible or not, and that's gonna be clear, or is still pretty gray, I'm not sure. It's hard to read it on this case, so I don't.
In closing, I would hope that maybe in the paper they can put, if any residents of the community would like to offer any assistance to the Chaplains Corps, that there's a remittal address in there, in the paper.
And that it is a 501c3 corporation.
Yes, tax deductible.
Yes.
sending the invoices for the remaining 2016, correct?
Giving them until June to catch that up, yeah, basically.
Alright. We will then go back to the other item under old business. The first one listed, School of Opportunity. Richard Williams is here as the operating officer to see if we had any additional questions, probably.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Lou apologizes, he's out in the woods somewhere hunting,
Getting his deer.
getting the Christmas,
Thanks
the
for coming
Thanksgiving
out.
turkey,
Thank you.
hopefully. I don't know, but if there's any other questions that we can answer about our renewal levy, be glad.
We questioned you pretty good. That's $500,000
Right, happy-
renewal, is that
renewal,
correct?
Yes, sir.
I would move that we permit School of Op to put on a $500,000. And then, when is it, in May?
May 2nd.
Yes, but strictly that's a renewal,
Yes.
not a new.
No, it's a renewal of the levy passed originally in 1981.
I don't necessarily need a motion today.
don't?
The prosecutor's office, Amy, will draft the resolution, so the language is correct. As long as I know that, and they know that we can proceed, we'll have the prosecutor's office prepare those documents, and then we will officially do it. So
Okay.
yeah, okay. That way we don't have to do two.
All right.
Very good, thank you.
What period is that for? Renewal of 5 years or is it?
Yes, it's 5-year renewal.
Okay.
As long as you're all in favor with it.
All right, yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
appreciate
Thanks for
it.
coming up, Richard.
You bet.
All right, land bank update, I think Treasurer Alt is going to give us this update. Hi, David.
Hello. I guess pretty much everybody knows, based on the press release that Renee Smith from Bellstar Economic Development had done, the awarding of the grant of, I believe, $4,025,000 and change to the land bank for the under the NIP program, Neighborhood Initiative Program from Ohio Finance Housing Agency. And we're moving forward with that. We've had meetings with the prosecutor's office, clerk of courts, as to, because the next 6 months now, with that awarding, is going to be trying to acquire title to those properties. So that's what we're moving forward now, we're doing a new process, trying to get all those details kind of hammered out. This is fairly new across for many of the counties, so that's really where we stand with it. Spring and summer, we're gonna start seeing after, we acquire title to properties, demolition activities, things like that occur. And we'll have continued updates with the land bank members and meetings up until that point in time. And really, I'd just like to thank Renee Smith and City of Fostoria and Fostoria Economic Development for all their help they've done. Also, when we applied for the grant, Julie Atkins' office prepared, Alex in her office prepared all the maps that were used for the grant application. Renee, of course, wrote the grant. Our office helped to facilitate providing those details and some of those things on to her as well in her preparation of that grant. So, and we did apply for the $200,000 line of credit as well. Renee took care of that and filed that off.
Good. And we have to use the money within what time period?
I believe December, our final invoice has to be submitted in October of 19. So it's paid by December of 19.
Okay, so
And there is some open questions yet. Hopefully, maybe commercial properties will be added to that list. We may augment, and we can change, just so everybody's aware too, that we can change and amend this grant area, say target areas. There may be some other properties located in other villages or Seneca County or things like that brought to our attention. We then will just amend our original grant with OFIN, or Ohio Finance Housing Agency, OFA, and they'll add that. So we have that pool of money, we just have to make sure we use it.
just
Okay.
to emphasize again for those folks present, the main purpose of the land bank is to purchase properties that are no longer being used, they are abandoned, and to determine whether or not those properties are rehabable, if we can rehab them, or whether they need to be raised. And then the subsequent lot, if you will, that's there would be offered to the adjacent homeowners.
Yeah.
So the idea is to have whatever those properties are removed, rehabbed, and put them back on the tax rolls, so that we have an income stream for the county. and to clean up some neighborhoods.
Yeah, and hopefully the overall goal is to clean up the neighborhood, which by cleaning up the neighborhood should increase their property values then too, which will help actually the city of Fostoria with their declining property values, things like that. They get a boost up in property values, plus a better neighborhood, more aesthetically pleasing. And there's other things, you know, when we get more into it, working with the land bank has the flexibility to work with other community partners. Maybe Habitat for Humanity. Land Bank acquires title, Habitat in Fostoria or Tiffin or Seneca counties. Habitat for Humanity says, okay, I'd like that property. We want to rehab it. Okay, we can transfer title. We can do things and have that flexibility. And hopefully there will be some increased funding for commercial properties. If not, we do have that 5% that the commissioners has authorized because there's a few out in the county that has been brought to our attention.
Sure. Well, thank you, Dana, for your hard work, and thanks, Julie, for what she had done. But I think special kudos need to go to Renee, who made the applications and really has been heading this thing up and doing the administration. So thanks very much to FEDC for allowing Renee to do that, and thank you guys very much for cooperating with that.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
Yep,
Have a nice day. Have a good holiday.
you too. All right, Justice Center update. Do you want to give that, Mike, or did?
Sure, I heard it on the radio this morning. So one of the commissioners on the radio gave an update, so I'll just repeat that. By the way, I gotta tell you that Commissioner Stacy was nice enough to remark that Fred's in his, final tour, and she said that it's actually he's been here for a decade. And I think that was Freudian slip. She meant 4 years. But,
It quickly correct.
it just seems like
a decade.
decade.
You can take that 2 ways. Be positive, be positive.
Yeah. Okay. You can take it any way you want, Fred. Just noting the fact, and Fred, by the way, canceled Thanksgiving again as well. We were going to have a meeting Thursday and said he wanted to cancel that meeting. So far,
Only made that mistake once.
so far, his Derby's canceled Christmas and Thanksgiving.
2 holidays.
Yeah, but the
You look
steel, I
puzzled.
guess, the main thing is that the steel is on its way somewhere, we hope. It'll be on one of those wide loads, so when you see it come in with the flashers, go on, smile. There should be some movement upwards towards the sky here in early December. We'll all be happy to see that, and then it'll go like heck for probably a couple of months, and then there won't be any progress that we'll see at all, because everybody will be inside doing those things. So we are indeed on schedule. As Commissioner Stacy said today, the CMR thought that we might be a little ahead of schedule. We don't want to say that. We still think it's going to be
We know you
on
don't write those
schedule.
headlines.
Yeah.
Jamie. We know you don't write those headlines.
Yeah. So, plan for the worst and hope for the best. And the good news is that we'll see this thing come out of the ground, and that'll be what happens before Christmas. So that's a nice Christmas present for everybody. We continue to have the Joint Justice Center leadership team meetings under the leadership of Commissioner Stacy. And those are going very smoothly. Another one is scheduled for the end of December. And we hope there's no kinks. We keep just moving forward. So we're real pleased with the progress. And an update will be put on the site. I don't know, do we have a new one?
No, I don't think I have a new one yet.
Okay.
I put one up after our meeting last week. So.
Yeah,
So there's a
Probably get one
new
this
one.
week.
So as
yeah.
our commissioner site or county site, anytime you wish, just go to that site and you can learn everything we know about the same time we know it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Do we need to stay on the schedule that we had for 10:30 for the executive session? That can be pushed back.
Unless Julie's in a
Julie,
hurry.
are you on a time frame? You need it to be now?
I just have a conference call at 11:30.
Okay,
Oh, we'll be done before.
okay, we'll be right.
We'll get through this quick.
Okay, new business, and we added sheriff's request. Let's hit that so we don't forget it.
Okay. He has sent up a request. He's having some issues with some exhaust fans. He's got a total of 35 exhaust fans that are the age of the building. And so he's had a lot of malfunctions. He's having a lot of repairs that he's been trying to draw this out. Finally, he's got to the point where he did go get us a couple quotes. The best quote I got for the, all of the 35 fans would be about 45,000. He did say if that was too much of a shock, he is willing to see if you guys would do phases, phase 1 and phase 2 on these, one this year, one next year. I don't know, we do have funds we do have cash in our capital improvements, that if we agree this needs to be done, and obviously it does need to be done if it's causing a problem, we do have money in there, to cover the full 44.
What do we have in that funds?
Tanya just pulled that up. She said by the end of the month, we'll have about 170. At the end of the year, sorry.
What's
It's not,
the-
and that's not in a
That's not-
set-aside money, that's all.
That's, yeah, because the set aside money, the 500 we put in there for the,
Courthouse.
annex building and the, Board of
Board of
Elections
Elections.
equipment.
Oh, okay.
That's not.
I'm not
included.
including
Oh,
that.
right.
It's because we,
Hundreds-
For the voting
What was it
machines.
as of last year? Is it increased or decreased? I mean,
well, we've been using projects, we only put in there our leases and rentals money unless we have another project that obviously we have to do. She's only got, I think, 69,000 on a purchase order left, so there's not, all the rest of the projects we're working on won't go into
so
contracts till next year.
69,000 comes off the 170 that's in there?
45,000.
You said.
Yes.
I'm
The
confused.
69 she's already got on a purchase order
So
for
that
something else.
170 is,
Yeah,
is,
additional.
that's the
Available.
net, that's the net.
Would have been two.
I'm just trying to figure, I mean, 170 could be a lot if we spend 20 grand a year. 170 is not much if we spend 500,000 a year. That's what I'm trying to,
Exactly.
you know, what did we have last year in that fund at the end of last year?
Well, we put a lot in there because of the museum and because of the CSB. We spent over 500,000 just on those projects alone. So the general fund obviously did put money in place. We also got money, hasn't come in yet, but we've got the guarantee for the money back from the state for the museum. It is coming, but we just haven't received it yet. So that's been a lot of general fund supported. Those are the projects we had last year.
If we
so.
did it in a two-phase thing, could we get a locked-in price?
I was gonna ask it, does it?
Yeah, would they,
Price.
They've just got it split, they don't have a time frame on here, he's just got phase 1. The one company said 35,000 for the first phase, those are the worst fans, and then 9,000 for the second phase.
You got the bulk of it in the first phase
yeah,
anyway.
they might as well just get it all done at once if it's
And
broken down like
the
that.
other companies were just a little bit more expensive, they were splitting it a little more evenly, but
How much are we anticipating moving out of the general fund to the improvement fund for 17?
for 17, we've got the Board of Elections, building renovation, we have the prosecutor's renovation, and we already got some in for the annex, so, the annex and the Board of Elections money. but
Well, we
that's
should
our-
Well, that won't be as
170
heavy.
all the
It won't be
pieces
as,
there.
it won't be as heavy as we had put in for 16.
Correct,
Oh, wait, I'm confused.
because we've got about an
If-
estimate,
If you've got the prosecutor, which seemed to me that was 250,
prosecutor's about 150, 158,
150, and, oh, his Board of Elections was 2?
yeah, Board of Elections was about,
Yeah, so out there you got 400,000. I'm confused, I really am confused.
the
there.
215 is just a fund that we set general fund money aside for it, or if any matching money comes in, like the state's given us money for the museum, it's all general fund money that we allocate over there.
But that net is 170 right now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get much on our rentals and leases,
Yeah.
moving over, that's the only dedicated money we have set aside currently that goes in there annually.
Okay, so you've got 170, and you're already telling me there's 400,000 in the pipeline,
Yep.
plus 45, you got 450,000. So we've got to fund it
Prosecutor and Board of
for
Elections.
another 300,000 next year to be able to even do the projects what we have.
Correct,
That's got to come out of the general fund. Ugh.
yes.
But we set aside more than 500 for 16.
Yeah, we spent that on the CSB and the museum. CSB was $350,000, that was with the
And those
roof
were all-
and the elevator.
And those were all anticipated at the end of 15.
Correct.
Knowing we had to do that. So
Correct.
the point is, Fred, we have less anticipated improvements for 17 than we did for 16, just at the same time last year.
Yeah, but the fact is we still got 400
And we assume we're gonna have those all.
400 that we've gotta,
Right.
we've gotta be able to fund, which is prosecutor, board of elections.
Yeah.
Plus, if we take this, that's 450,000, and we've got 170 in the bank.
Right.
So that means roughly 300,000
Comes
gotta
of
come
it.
out of the general fund.
Yep. And I think our available to appropriate, I just looked it up with Holly, is 1.7 right now. Our available for the
Carryover.
general fund is 1.7.
And how much money do we have set aside to renovate the annex? Or there,
We did 250 for the annex and we did 250 for the.
that's there, it's in
voting
a separate
implement.
account, it's already
That's set aside.
out of it.
That's set aside, yes. We've already moved it out of the general fund.
Okay, so we don't
That's not-
We don't anticipate having anything gonna hit us with that. With the annex, and we don't anticipate.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
250, is there gonna be 400, you know?
No, we don't, in fact, we don't think it's gonna be 250.
Yeah, they're still, I think they've got the details, they're ironing out the details.
I mean,
Jay's.
it may be closer to 150 than it is 250.
What kind of repair cost is Bill running out there to maintain these fans? I guess, I'm just thinking out loud, prolonging it another year.
Is it, how long is this quote good for? I mean, we got time to ask him a few questions and then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Um,
well, maybe we just ask him, we'll discuss it next week if we wanna.
I mean, if he's spending 10 grand a year just trying to
Yeah, exactly.
fix his stuff, then you bite the bullet and, you know, be done with it. But if it's a couple grand, yeah, maybe this is not with everything that's going on. I mean, we're not gonna always have the prosecutor, we're not always gonna have the Board of Elections. I mean, those are some pretty hefty,
We're always gonna have significant money in building repairs and improvements. But, I mean, it's always
We
gonna
own
be
too
one
many.
thing or the other because we've got some significantly old buildings. So, you know, and next it'll be RTA, big problem or whatever, who knows?
Yeah.
I would,
Well,
my
let's
personal
ask Bill a
opinion is
couple of
to
questions
just
and then we
defer
can deal with it
defer
next week anyway if
Sure,
we can,
that's
or
fine.
just.
I just had to bring it up.
As long as this quote's still good to.
Yeah, I see the can being kicked way down.
Yeah.
That's only in the next week, so.
Point well taken, Commissioner.
Okay. Freddie's just trying to make these decisions after the first of the year.
Let that on the next administration.
I get this strategy.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit out there in the audience, why didn't you take care of this?
All right, let's continue with new business.
Okay, I got bill vouchers for this week. I've got an appropriation adjustment within the county sewer district fund. I'm moving $1,662.19 from contract services to PRS. I have an appropriation adjustment within the county sewer district fund, moving $90 from equipment to supplies. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the general fund. This is at the request of Common Pleas, putting $5,000 into their drug testing line, $25,000 into indigent counsel, and then $15,000 for court reporter. Their letters basically are saying due to the increase in the number of criminal cases, the funds exceed what they initially had budgeted, so.
This is indigent fund.
The indigent counsel and the court reporters, yeah. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation to the probate special projects fund, putting $1 into salaries. I'm just reading them.
I know.
Next.
Every penny.
Appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving $1,000 from travel to supplies, and this at the request of Common Pleas 2. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund. Sheriff is moving some of his funds around from his supplies to contract repairs. Also some supplies to salaries, other expense to his transporting prisoners, and equipment to food for total moved $8,391.83. an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving 5,000 from van supplies to advertising at the request of Veteran Services. We have a resolution authorizing a contract service agreement for Wyandotte County Board of Commissioners for receipt, custody, and care of Wyandotte County juveniles on behalf of Seneca County Youth Center for 2017. And I have a request, resolution establishing the Termination Benefits Fund pursuant to ORC 5705.13B, and this is at the request of the Health Department. And those are all the resolutions I have.
All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve it as outlined.
Motion and a second. Any questions, comments, concerns on any of the resolutions as stated? Okay, seeing none, call roll please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner State?
Yes, all stand approved. It's presented, thank you. We have the need for an executive session. We will not need any action thereafter, don't foresee that, correct?
I won't need to be made immediately after here, no.
No, okay. So we can do citizens' comments and then we'll get to our executive session so we don't hold everybody up. Does anybody have comments at this time?
I do from regional planning.
Okay,
Went to the Ohio CDC conference last week. David Zach, Amy Reinhardt, SIDEC were there as well. And we sat in on the community development block grant training and strategies, all kinds of different sessions. Found out that there's some wonderful set-aside funds that may be available to our county for different projects, as well as what we're going to have to do next year and the new tasks that are assigned by the state that are required. So those will be being discussed with the board for regional planning, and then we'll bring those to you so you understand the responsibilities of the commissioners and what takes place afterwards.
wait a minute. More tasks from the state?
More tasks.
More tasks? How can we have that?
A little overwhelming, but it will be good for all of us in the end, because we're going to put together a wonderful community development plan. I'm involving all members of the community, and it's required by the state. So that's another avenue. So it does look like there's going to be some great funding out there for us and really good potentials for our county. So just wanted to bring you up to speed on that.
Thank you. Anything else, citizens' comments? Anything from David back there? No?
I have
Okay.
a question too. Has legislatures determined how much you're taking away from us next year? What's this?
No chances.
All they give us here, but they take away there.
All they can.
Yeah. I mean, because I've heard rumors of 800,000.
That's on the Medicare tax, and at this point, we've been told to budget 50% of it, of whatever we normally would have in that money, only to anticipate 50% of it will be received next year.
It doesn't kick in until July. That's number one. Number two is the legislator has got 88 counties chirping at them about this reduction. So they are looking for ways to augment funding that they give us. So there's been no solution to that yet. But keep our fingers crossed and hope we get a healthier share of the sales tax or some type of additional government funding to get us through 2017. And then we'll see what happens in 18.
So worst case scenario, if it is 800,000, they're saying budget 50% of that, that's 400,000, that's annually, and since it doesn't kick in until July, so the net effect could possibly be 200,000.
Yeah,
Am I
I mean, be
reading
careful
that
with the
right?
numbers because it was gonna affect us in the full year, I think, to the tune of about closer to 600 than 800.
It was about $600-700, right?
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it was like
net, you know,
757.
worst case, net, that's 300, and again, we can't cry before we're hurt because we don't know exactly what they're gonna do legislatively to send us some additional money again. You know, it's a big hit to us, don't misunderstand, but when you're talking about Cuyahoga or Hamilton or some of those counties, they're talking millions of dollars. So everybody's gonna be down there lobbying to get that somehow taken care of.
Okay.
Go to the casino and spend money, we get a bigger shot. Something.
All right, then, I'll need a motion so we can go to executive session for the purposes of personnel.
So moved.
Seconded.
A motion and a second for executive session. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zoll,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes. 10:49.
We gotta go
David,
back
it's always
to
good
your-
to see you, brother.
I was gonna
say you,
You don't have any